It was a long time in the making, this book. It's 23 short stories in a 120-page book. Here she is here. And it's about Fingal, its folklore, and its people, and the incredible characters. I was talking to a lady today actually who wrote the first chapter, and the first story is about Jim and your dad. And she said it made very interesting reading and all of that type of thing. And she says that, and he says that it will make you laugh in places, and you will shed a tear as well as that. As you can see from the book itself, there was 14 beautiful illustrations. I'm going to get this right. And there's 14 beautiful illustrations, and they were done by a young Bulgarian lady who can't be here tonight, so I don't have to pronounce her name. No, she's here, she's here. And her name is Joanna Tobalska. Give her a big round of applause. And I'd like to give her a round of applause because it took me 4 hours to learn that name. Anyway, Joanna, you're very, very welcome. And as people read the book and see the illustrations, they're absolutely fantastic. Well done to you. Every book, of course, needs a publisher and somebody who believes in the work and the book itself. So they have to believe in the person, the work, and of course the fact that they're going to use or lose their reputation if they actually take on to publish the book. So the guy that did that, in fact he's an author himself, is Aidan Arnold. He took on the project, and with that in mind, I'd like to call Aidan up to say a few words, maybe about their cooperation and what they did during the course of it. Give her a round of applause for Aidan Arnold.
Thank you very much, John. I've been told not to touch this microphone because it'll go bananas. I have to be short because you're here to listen to Jim Monks tonight. This is Jim's night, it's Jim's book, and I'm just really happy. But there are a few people that I want to mention. Of course I want to mention Jim. Without Jim and all this writing, this definitely would never have happened. And funny enough, there's another man just over here, beautiful specimen of a hunk called Jim Hawkins here. Jim always believed in Jim Monks' stories, and he always told me you should get these together, you should do something with them, and he was right, because finally when he convinced me, when I was too busy most of the time to think about it, but Jim Hawkins should be thanked and appreciated. He's part of how this group came about too. The Lusk Heritage Group and some of the people here from Lusk, they've been very involved as well. As I say, Joanna, who I am delighted to, when I just finish, I want to just give her a little book, because not just does Joanna like to see the book, but the mammy at home is looking forward to seeing it too. So herself and her aunt are very welcome here. And only one other thing I want to do, and this is a bit of a strange thing. Tonight we're here for Jim's stories, but I have one story for Jim tonight that he doesn't know about, right? I go back a long time with Jim, 50 years at least, when the old Mocker and Ferma days, and I see some of our Mocker friends there, like Stephen Dawes and Philip Jenkinson and Thomas Hagan and all of them are here. Years and years ago, when we started, the end of the 60s, the beginning of the 70s, Jim was living and brought up by his uncle Willie. Willie Monks was a legend in his own time. He was a great old historian. He had marvellous respect. Eventually there was a museum in Lusk called the Willie Monks Museum. And Willie used to bring us all around the place, dragging us into Newgrange and places like that. And we were young saying, oh Christ, will we never get home. But he was a great man. But when Willie left this planet, like a lot of men, he hadn't written down anything like the amount of stuff he had in his head. And when he died, he brought a lot of that stuff with him. Now, I know for a fact, in Mocker and Ferma back in 1970, Willie gave a talk to Lusk, Mocker and Ferma 52 years ago. Jim would have been there, I'm quite sure. I happen to know because I have the minutes from all the old minute books, and I had signed off on the 1st of December, I signed off that said, Willie Monks, next meeting, 8th of December, Willie Monks to give a talk on the history of Fingal. That was great. I still remember it. But what I didn't know was my brother Tom was there as well. And Willie, as far as I know, he gave the talk that he gave it to Tom. All the printed out pages that he had, he gave it to Tom, my brother. My brother put it in a box and left it in the box for about 50 years. And about 2 weeks ago, another brother who happened to find the box, took photos of what was in the box and sent me a lot of stuff about Fingal. And in the box was Willie Monks's speech 52 years ago, which is quite incredible. It's almost like that this is a message from the other world to Jim tonight, to say, thank God, Jim, it took you a long time, but you finally took up the baton and you're carrying on the work that Willie so much wanted. This is Willie Monks' 50-year-old speech that has been sitting in a box in Dublin since then. I just printed it out and I just made it. I knew Jim would like this, and there's enough stuff in this, 10 pages of Willie's history of Fingal, to make a good few more stories in the coming years. So I just want to give this to Jim, and congratulations.
So the book is now launched. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Please put your hands together for the author himself, Jim Monks.
This is what it's come to now at this stage. It's surprising what is set in motion when you say yes to people. Sometimes looking out at a crowd of sympathetic people, supportive people, I've heard people say to me, it makes you feel humble. That now is one fucking big lie. I don't feel in the least bit humble at this stage. I mean, absolutely. Gobsmacked and over the moon and delighted and charmed to see you all there. Old friends, new friends, people I've never seen before and people I haven't seen for years. And the book is written, here it is, it has arrived. And I will say to you guys out there, thank you very much, from the oldest, the youngest, from the best looking in the place to John Farley. John Farley is right. Politics, what? I'll tell you something. I'm just as glad my enemies didn't show up to give me a little bit of a eulogy.
He was looking for money at the door, that's all I know.
That's the size of that. He would be, all right. But listen, the book is written, and there's a huge amount of thanks to various people as well. I'll get to that now in a few minutes. Why the book was written, I did always like writing stories. I liked writing essays when I was going to school. It was the only thing I could handle easily. And some of these stories wanted to be written. They were there to be heard. There were characters that came up that wanted to be invented. And I started to feel familiar with these characters that are out there at this stage. They're all worth a read. Definitely this book is worth a read. And read it again when you're finished reading it. All in all, it has been an experience to be encouraged, pushed into the business, all right. Aidan Arnold, I've got to give it to you. You're a business-like man. You approached it. You said, this is the way we're going to do it. Took this rough material and bet it into shape and shook it and squeezed it and whatever the heck you do, and put it between two covers, and here it is on the table in front of me. Full marks to you, Aidan. I'll have to say, you're the man in that respect. The encouragers and the people who encourage. Jim Hawkins, as we said, is a great believer, absolutely. Mrs. Pat Kelly here behind me is responsible for some of these stories. Pat never threatened me with a weapon or attempted legal action, but she still got me to write stories, and they cropped up for various occasions down the years as well. Various competitions, various culture nights, everything like that. Otherwise, Joanna, wow. What do I say to you? You certainly embellished, Joanne's pictures are marvellous, they make the stories. Joanna said, stories make the pictures. We could give one another compliments all night. It's just great. And everything else like that. When it comes to technicalities of book writing, I can handle pen, no problem, black, blue, clicky things on the top of them, no problem, absolutely. But when it gets technical, you see a computer, do you see what the alphabet is on a computer? It's inside out, it starts with Q. What do you do with that stuff? And I will say, only for Helen, I couldn't have done it. It made the impossible to me seem easy. Job done. Cheers, Helen. Thanks a million. Now, Willie Monks, that was a surprise, Aidan. I'll have to say, to produce that from 52 years ago. If I was there, I had to be in a pram. But, leaving that aside, Willie was a tremendous, meticulous historian. What he wrote is accurate and true. If there's any truth in this book that you're going to read, it's not my fault. That's the type of material that's out there. Listen to me. I have to say thanks to everybody. And I will say thanks to my good friend John Farley for putting this show on the road. I'll pay that fine some of these days.
Some of these days.
And down to that, to you, I'm absolutely overjoyed and more than pleased to see such a selection of friends here. It means a huge amount to me. It means that I'm going to start writing more. And by this time next year, I'm going to have another one put beside the one that's on the table. Listen, thanks again. Produce put to heads and say, write something about something. Write something about this one. Is entitled The Mirror. And it goes, someone in the writers group threw out topics to write about. He asked, what about the mirror as a piece of furniture? What would you write about that? Now I know some people have serious relationships with the mirror, but the first thing that came to my mind was, are you for real? Why would you, any of you, think I might be in the least bit interested in writing anything about a mirror? Do I look remotely like someone who would have any interest in giving the mirror the time of day? I'm disappointed in your judgment if you think I could have any possible relationship with that cold-hearted monster. Fair enough. I may have had a brief dalliance, but that was years ago. Years and years. I was too young at the time to be held responsible for forming a relationship with a bloody mirror. And really, there was nothing to it. Never mind what people say. At the time, they took advantage of an impressionable young man, only a chap. That young lad looked out at me, full of notions, self-assurance, black hair, and smooth skin, and spots, and whispered to me, the mirror is your friend. Stay close to the mirror. Some friend the mirror turned out to be. He couldn't wait to show me a bunch of grey hairs. Nearly followed me round to show me a row of stitches and a broken tooth. I could go over the top and say the mirror took pleasure in watching the hair turn white. The glass is arriving, but no, I can't be a cold and dispassionate thing like it is. I even turned away from the mirror for a couple of months, but it really frightened me when I came back that it turned me into this mad-looking old fellow with a beard. And not just that, it teamed up with its mate, the Scales, to prove beyond reasonable doubt that they were definitely not and never would be my friends. I fear the Scales doesn't care if I never stand on it again, and the mirror couldn't give a fiddler's fart if I looked into it and there was nobody looking back. So, under no circumstances will I ever write another word about that hypocrite, that bully, that heartbreaker, that bloody mirror.
Well done.